Tonight, police keep tabs on situation in Sudan. $1,000 reward for Iliki Suka's whereabouts. And a new centre for illegal visitors. Very good evening. The 8 Fijian police officers currently serving in the United Nations mission in Sudan have been posted back to their base. The 8 have been taken and sheltered at the UN headquarters at the height of the violence last week. The UN is closely monitoring the situation, and if the tension escalates, Fijian peacekeepers will have to be evacuated to neighbouring countries. Myron Williams with this report.
The world's newest nation, South Sudan, descended into chaos last month after allegations of an attempted coup had surfaced. Peace talks are now underway in neighbouring Ethiopia, but there seems to be no solid progress and the violence continues. Fijian peacekeepers had to be evacuated and sheltered at the UN headquarters at the height of the tensions last week. Among these were a group of 8 from the Fiji police force.
All officers are currently safe. They are deployed in the units that they have been deployed previously. At the height of the situation there, they were brought back to the headquarters. Now we have been advised by the authorities that they are back to the bases. They are performing the normal duties.
Mass killings based on ethnicity have been reported, with some 200,000 Sudanese displaced with no resolutions in sight. Peacekeepers serving under the UN banner have, however, been assured of their safety.
As far as we are concerned, we are dependent on the UN authorities there. They look after our people, and when it comes to security, it's the UN security who will advise the authorities whether to evacuate our people or whatever action they want to take.
Family members of police officers serving in Sudan have been assured that they will be kept well informed of any developments.
Any adverse reports that may come or that comes, the families are advised according to the message that we received. So far, we are fine.
Meanwhile, 6 other members of the police force will be deployed to Sudan in the coming weeks. Myron Williams, Fiji One News.
A bounty has now been placed on Iliki Suka, the missing 65-year-old man who is linked to a fire at Singatoka 3 weeks ago. Police confirmed that those with information that could lead to Suka's arrest will be paid $1,000. He is wanted for questioning in relation to a fire at Natavora along the Coral Coast that claimed the life of his wife. To date, police have yet to receive reliable information that could help locate the 65-year-old. Anyone with information is requested to contact the Director Criminal Investigations Department, SSP Luke Rawalai, on 9905 037 or 331 5599. A group of Ministry of Works employees handed termination letters last week are calling on authorities to reconsider the decision to send home close to 100 workers. The group met at a home of an employee this morning to sign a letter of petition to be delivered to the Commissioner Western and the Prime Minister later this week. Madimbolai Tamana reports.
It is this termination letter delivered to about 100 PWD workers in Lautoka that has got this group of Works Ministry employees engaged under the Trade Manufacturing account up in arms.
Temporary workers are taken only 3 months. So is our workers secured? He said, don't worry, your workers are secured. But as we went on leave, and we were on leave, and they came home, and they gave us a letter, as a coward people do.
The letter, signed by the Ministry for Works Permanent Secretary Francis Keane, was delivered to these workers whom Vuso claims were not aware of what was coming their way when they were sent on leave during the Christmas and New Year's break.
Especially they have children. On school holiday, they have spent their money on Christmas and New Year. After New Year, and they have received the letter. Even though the government are paying for the school fees, but what will they eat at home?
He says they will now take their case to the Commissioner Western's office and the Prime Minister after collecting signatures of those that have been terminated by the Works Ministry.
So that we were wanting to sign a petition to go to Commissioner and to the Prime Minister so that our voice could be heard.
You're hopeful the Prime Minister will do something?
Yes. But now, if we are taken back, we are embarrassed. Whole of the world knows it. It's better for us to give us our package. And when they have given package to the water supply, why can't they give given package to the roads? Why can't they give it to us?
Meanwhile, the Works Permanent Secretary Francis Keane said last week this was a routine annual termination at this time of the year, where the ministry has what it calls a stand-down period that began on December 19th, 2013. He says the majority of the terminated staff will be re-engaged during the mid or later part of January 2014 once the projects are online and business to operate the 16 TMAs. Bulletin, Fiji One News.
The tertiary education loan scheme has been commended by many as a much-needed assistance for higher education purposes. But as the name suggests, the financial assistance will have to be paid back to the state. So to put things in perspective, Ravai Vafa'o did some research on how much those accessing this scheme can expect to pay back.
It's just like any other loan. Those applying for the tertiary education loan scheme will have to pay it back. One of the criteria for TELS is that recipients are bonded to pay back their loans. This comes in two forms for the 52.5 million allocation grant by the state. With TELS only recovering tuition, interest rates and loan repayments are the modes of repayment. Through the interest rates, students whose parental incomes do not exceed $25,000 don't have to pay any interest. For combined parental incomes between $25,000 to $50,000, the interest rate is 0.5%. For those whose parents' combined incomes fall between $50,000 and $100,000, 1% is the interest rate charged. Combined parental income exceeding $100,000 will be charged a 2% interest rate. However, the pinch for loan recipients will come in the form of the loan repayment criteria. All TELS recipients, upon graduating and finding a permanent employment, will have to pay back 20% of their annual salary. So this is what you'll pay if you're going for a Bachelor for Education. A graduate's income is pegged at $23,411. Of that amount, $4,682 will be paid back to the state. A Bachelor of Law course at USP for the 4-year program costs $21,330. The starting salary for legal officers at the office of the DPP is $27,701. It will take the TELS recipient less than 4 years to pay back the loan, with $5,540 paid every year. Guarantors for recipients will be held accountable if there is a breach in contract. Despite the repayment criteria, loan applicants are still supportive of TELS.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's great because for students like me, my family can support and they can get support from the ministry.
I think it's a good idea, but I just hope that they could just reduce the cut from the annual pay.
Despite the 20% deduction after graduation, this loan scheme is still good because if you look at the situation that some students are in, they can't afford to pay their fees. So this one way the government is helping them in paying their fees so they can get employment. 20% deduction is nothing because after only about 3 years they'll pay off their loan and they'll get their job permanently.
With tertiary education made easily accessible to all, the onus is on individuals whether they want to invest in their future and if they can afford it. Reviver for all, Fiji One News.
The Immigration Department is now looking into purchasing a piece of land to facilitate the construction of a new detention center. These plans come amidst the rising number of illegal visitors to our borders. As Apisalome Rambo explains, with between 50 to 60 deportations every year, the need for a specialized center has become an urgent necessity.
Issued per year to date has prompted the Immigration Department to build a new detention center, and plans are rolling out slowly to do just that.
The project team manager is currently in the West right now. Working with ILTB, we had looked at all the other sources of identifying a piece of land.
The director says the Immigration Department is fortunate to have the backing of important stakeholders such as the Itoke Land Trust Board.
He's currently in the West identifying a piece of land in Lengalenga.
But he's unable to divulge much on the project. At the moment, he's waiting confirmation from his teams on the ground about the center's location. Vuniwanga hopes construction can take place right away, since they hope to complete the project by mid-2014.
If we can have it the construction of detention center finalized by July, the better. We've been allocated 450,000 for the construction of the detention center.
The director says 70% of the funds set aside for capital projects are expected to be used for the center's construction. Apisolo Merambo, Fiji One News.
The Fiji Independent Commission Against Corruption has noted a 5% increase in the number of corruption-related cases brought against public office holders. Close to 500 corruption-related cases were recorded last year. Of these, 25% were against government agencies, officers and ministries. Halitestat reports.
A number of corruption-related cases filed against government officials has found the following. Underhand dealings were committed at the executive level. The natures of complaints were abuse of office by the senior executives. Other serious offences such as bribery and forgery were committed at the middle management level of government departments.
We also found that public officials continue to engage in those corrupt practices such as embezzlement, abuse of office. It's the same thing again, bribery, fraud, larceny, and also obtaining property on forged documents.
The Commission also investigated some private sector organizations that were involved with government agencies and officials in corrupt practices.
In 2013, we have seen payments done to contractors with machines left idle for a very long period of time. We've also witnessed and prosecuted cases in which inflated payments were done to contractors, and the benefit to the government official is perhaps a new government vehicle, a new vehicle.
FICAC was able to convict 8 cases. Those involved included top public office holders.
Fuan Mani, the former Deputy General Manager of FNPF, who was sentenced to 26 months imprisonment by the Suva High Court. I think another notable conviction was that of Daniel Mbolea, who was sentenced to 10 months imprisonment by the Magistrates Court, and we have others as well. But most of these cases are in Suva, and we have 2 or 3 that were successfully convicted in Lotoka.
FICAC hopes to work closely with the private sector and government in terms of adopting anti-corruption policies. Halitestat, Fiji One News.
Ahead in the news, Water Authority of Fiji taps into additional water sources. And Chinese investors keen on assisting sugar industry. Plans to establish a Melanesian Spearhead Group Regional Police Academy received a $500,000 boost today. The financial assistance was handed over to government today by the visiting Indonesian government's Secretary of Coordinating Ministry for Political, Legal and Security Affairs. On hand to receive the monetary assistance was the Prime Minister, Commodore Renge Bainimarama. The top Indonesian official says the assistance was a show of support for the establishment of the Regional Police Academy. Fiji is taking a lead role in establishing the academy, which will be based here and which will see police officers from the 5 MSG countries trained here as well. The interim regional academy is currently based at the Fiji Police Force in Nasese Training Centre. A piece of land close to Namboro, Nambukabesi, has been earmarked as a possible location. Also present were the Minister for Defence, Choketani Tokanasinga, and Acting Police Commissioner Ravi Narayan, who later took the delegation to the police academy in Nasova. A family of 15 is homeless tonight after their home in Seanganga was razed in a fire this morning. The owner of the home suffered burns whilst trying to evacuate family members. NFA in a statement said firefighters managed to prevent the fire from spreading. It continues to stress that a change in mindset is needed in regards to fire safety. National Fire Authority Chief Executive Officer John O'Connor says such incidents can be prevented if families are fire conscious and take fire safety seriously. Investigations are underway. The Water Authority of Fiji plans to tap into additional water sources to cater for increasing water supply demand in the Suva-Nosori area. In doing so, the authority is looking at the possibility of setting up a reservoir at the Sovi Basin in the highlands of Singatoka.
A spike in population growth in the Central Division has in turn put pressure on Water Authority of Fiji's resources. To meet the demand, the authority is looking at utilizing additional water sources. A feasibility study at the Sovi Basin is being conducted and results are expected to be handed in soon.
As you know, Sovi Basin is a sensitive area in terms of not only the land, the national heritage, and all other environmental factors, and also they have to consider the need of the people that live within this corridor and the need for the water. So all these interests will be considered in this feasibility study.
Ravai says Sovi Basin has the potential of replacing WEF's existing intake for the Suvarnasori corridor. Ravai adds this would be a multi-million-dollar investment for the authority.
Not only in the construction of the dam, the pipe works and treatment plants, things like that. So the biggest cost would be the pipe that you have to run from highlands of Netasiri down to our treatment plants and to our distribution network. So you're talking few $1 million, few $100 million.
In the meantime, the authority is working on replacing its aging infrastructure.
Most of the old pipes, putting in valves, new air valves, pressure reducing valves, and things like that in our network that will ensure that we sustain the service delivery to the people in this corridor.
Water problems continue to plague residents in the Suvarnasori corridor. Halitesh Dutt, Fiji One News.
Calls by members of the public for an improvement in services at the Immigration Department could have an impact on their pockets. Director Nyamani Vuniwanga says while they have managed to keep costs at a bearable rate, this could change if service turnaround time changes. Apisolome Rambo has more.
The modifications to our passports were done for security reasons, but with its cost remaining unchanged, the Director for Immigration says the demands for change in terms of services will come at a cost.
When we say that an urgent issuance or a one-day processing is $190, people complain, why $190? But don't be surprised that this price can increase.
According to Vuniwanga, changes made do not come cheap.
And with the new features that comes with it should come with a cost, but we haven't changed it. But it might come your way soon.
Vuniwanga says the processing time here is probably the best around the region, and it's the best they can provide to members of the public at the moment. But some beg to differ.
We understand that there's our clients who are not satisfied with the service that are being provided. But that is a challenge that we take on board.
The director also reassured members of the public about one of its core services.
The passport turnaround time is still 5 working days. 5 working days for $76. That is for the normal processing. For an urgent issuance, it's $190 for same-day processing.
The director says their primary objective is to satisfy the demands of the public. Apisolome Rambo, Fiji One News.
More than 400 drivers were caught using their mobile phones while driving during the Christmas and New Year's operation. The Land Transport Authority says most drivers are repeat offenders and drastic action will be taken against them. Drew Kelang reports.
Drivers continue to disregard warnings about mobile usage, and over the festive season, this was the most common offense recorded by the LTA. While most of these drivers know that this is illegal, the main worry for LTA is that the action could lead to serious accidents.
Our law states, our regulation, the Land Transport Act 1998, Section 50 stresses that it is illegal for any driver to be on a two-way communication device. Either you are driving with mobile or texting or you are reading a text. This is all part of that regulation.
The high number of booking has forced the LTA to pull up drivers to their offices to discuss penalties involved.
People are being observed throughout the 2 weeks operation before Christmas. We've observed people that are actually violating this regulation. In fact, close to 400 people have been identified, and on a case-by-case basis, we are actually calling them, physically calling them to come in and explain, the reason on the actions that we will take against those violating this regulation.
The concern, LTA says, is that these drivers are breaching most roads rules by using mobile phones.
This is a reoccurring problem which has made the LTA very, very concerned, and We would like to stress to the drivers that it is illegal to drive with mobile behind the wheels, and we will be very, very vigilant on this issue. Our enforcement officers have been told to stop and book and actually issue tins on those caught using mobile.
Drivers have also been warned that they could lose their driving license if the offences are serious. Drew Kelangi, Fiji One News.
Following its week-long meeting with sugar industry stakeholders and the Prime Minister, a number of Chinese investors hope to seal a long-term deal with our sugar ministry. After clarifying a number of issues on the table at this meeting with the sugar industry stakeholders, this group of Chinese investors return home with an air of optimism in terms of dealing with Fiji in the long run.
We are here along with 11 other investors, representatives of the agriculture sector and representatives from the China Development Bank, trying to look at ways we can tap into the Fiji sugar market, looking at long-term opportunities. We hope to purchase raw sugar and produce ice sugar for our market not only at home but abroad.
Eugene says apart from buying Fiji's sugar, they also hope to provide other forms of technical assistance in relation to the construction of the sugar refinery plant in Lambasa.
Do our necessary research and plans before we will come back with a proposal. We hope to seal with Fiji sugar industry here in Fiji. We are also looking at a joint venture in assisting the industry in regards to their proposed sugar refinery plant in Lambasa. We really appreciate the work the sugar industry is doing, and we hope to be part of this venture for the future.
More news still to come after the break. Stay with us. A guard at the Manus Island Detention Centre in Papua New Guinea is currently being investigated for making a derogatory post on Facebook about an asylum seeker. According to PAC News, Darren Powell, the supervisor at the G4S security company, posted that an asylum seeker had swallowed a pair of nail clippers. One of his friends also poked fun at the post, which has since been removed from Facebook. The security company says the matter will be investigated thoroughly, as the safety and welfare of the asylum seekers was paramount. A statement from the company further said the comments breached its code of ethics and social media guidelines. Now remember, you can view tonight's Fiji One News Bulletin on our website at www.fijione.tv. You can also watch previous news bulletins as well as our current affairs, business and sports shows. More than $12 million worth of stock were traded on the South Pacific Stock Exchange last year. The SPSE also recorded 1,206 trades, an all-time high in single year. Halita start with the details.
The total returns for 18 companies listed on the South Pacific Stock Exchange were 9% last year. When analyzed further, 4.4% was dividend yield and 4.6% was capital gains.
Given the high liquidity in the financial system, interest rates have remained low over the last 2 years, and that is one of the reasons why investors have flocked to the stock market. We've got our buy-sell ratio at all-time low, which means there are a lot of buyers in the market compared to how before the sellers used to dominate the market.
The SPSE says this turnover for listed companies was encouraging. The transactions, Prasad says, was a clear indication that more investors are now considering stock market investment.
When the number of trades increases, it is a good indication of how the households, the retail investors, are coming to the market and buying and selling shares. So that going up has been a very good indication that our market is developing. And it also indicates that our investor education programs that we carried out over the last so many years is actually becoming more effective.
New order flows of an average value of $166,000 were also recorded on a weekly basis,
which is quite strong, and that indicates the eagerness of people wanting to buy shares in the market.
Prasad says these figures indicate that it's a good time to invest in the stock market. Halita Shtat, Fiji One News.
And Drew is next with sports. Ben Ryan's payroll should begin this month.
Yes, Philly, despite being unpaid for the past 3 months, there's confirmation that our Sevens coach is going to be paid. That's coming up. Also in sport, a Fiji Sports Council hopes to improve boxing standard. And Nandi out to impress home fans in opening CVC leg.